Hey guys, this is Animedesu, and this recap of Wistoria Wand and Sword Season 1. Will is a young boy living in a world where magic is valued more than anything. But unfortunately for him, he was born without any magical talent. He still gets enrolled in one of the most prestigious academies, but the problem is, how can someone without any magical talent succeed at a university like this? He decides to tackle this problem by honing his skills with the sword and heads off to high-level dungeons regularly, fighting against giant beasts who shoot magic spells at him, which he dodges, and uses his incredible speed and prowess with his sword to utterly style on the monster and slice it in half with a single slash. That was just a warm-up though, as he realizes that he needs to deal with dozens of similar monsters if he wants to escape this dungeon alive, which is not a big problem for him, as he has done this several times before. The next morning, he goes to the classroom extremely tired, where the professor named Edward teaches them about the basics of alchemy and how to produce sulfur, which helps in the creation of explosives. Edward notices Will dozing off in the back, so he calls his name, but unaware of this, Will keeps snoring until Edward shouts his name, which surprises Will as he stands up immediately. Edward calls him out to the front and asks him to demonstrate what they were just talking about, and without any other choice, Will is forced to go in front of the entire class to demonstrate the process. Edward tells him that it's super easy and all he has to do is produce some flames and sulfur will be created. Will shakily takes out the wand from his ass and chants the spell to bring forth flames, but to his dismay, not even a small spark emerges from the wand. All the students start laughing at him as if he was a stand-up comedian, but the teacher tells them to shut up. Edward looks at Will with disgust as he claims that he has no idea how someone like Will can be so good at theory, but utterly fail at any kind of practical magic, and wonders how Will even got selected for this academy. Suddenly, a red-haired boy named Sion takes out his wand and confidently points it towards the items on the desk before using his flame magic, completely burning them and creating sulfur, while Will cowers behind the flames. Edward tells them to not do anything without permission, as he immediately creates a huge crystal of sulfur with his magic spell. He tells them that magic is the most important thing in this world, as mages are heroes, and to survive at this academy, the students need to be good at magic. Fools who have no idea of how to control magic should simply leave the academy.
炎よ、従え。勝手な行動は慎みたまえ。すみません、エドワルド先生。諸君らも今見た通り、権威とは魔法である、英雄とは明治である。この魔法学院では魔法の知識はあっても魔法が一切不相応な夢にすがりつくことをお勧めする。
After the class was over, Sion and his cronies walk over to Will and embarrass him by saying that he can only kill low-level dungeon monsters, but a classmate and childhood friend of Will's named Cole walks out and tells Sion to leave him alone, as he is much nicer than him and his group. Sion gets a bit flustered but laughs it off, claiming that kindness and hard work won't get you very far without magic, before walking away with his goons. Cole and Will start walking while she tells him not to worry too much, but Will seems pretty used to this bullying as he looks towards the sky, claiming that it looks beautiful. It turns out that several years ago, the humans were trapped under a layer of darkness and never saw the sky because they lived in fear of some evil spirits who cast a shadow on the entire world. Thankfully, 5 legendary mages stood up to the evil spirits, and after a huge battle, they managed to push them back and freed the humans from the darkness, showing them what the real sky looked like. These mages were known as Mage Avanders, and that title now passes down to the most powerful mages of this world. Will remembers the promise he made to one of his childhood friends named Elfie, who used to show him storybooks of Mage Avanders, and they made a pact with each other that they will become the Mage Avanders one day. She ended up keeping her end of the deal, as she had incredible talent, and she rose up the ranks quickly to become the youngest Mage Avander in history and started living up the Divine Tower. Will turned out to be far below average, barely sticking onto the dream and the promise.
マギアベンデ語として現代も受け今日も表記のつこっちを見てる月と太陽が浮かんでるんだ空の向こうにはたくさんのものが真っ赤に染まるそうなのエルファリア空に一番近い塔のてっぺんにマギアベンデになれればあ一緒に見に行こうよ約束それはの頃の約束
Later that day, he goes in to meet Professor Walk, who ends up screaming at him when he gets to know that this Harry Potter knockoff went to level 7 dungeons all alone, and tells him that one day he will get killed. Will falls to the ground and apologizes, but asks whether he will get the credit for it or not. Walk takes a sigh and awards him 2 credits for his troubles, but while Will was busy celebrating, Walk asks him whether he has still not given up on the dream to become a Vander. He claims that to even have a small chance of becoming a Vander, he needs to get admitted to the Upper Institute, and to do that, he needs a lot of credits in writing, spellwork, and fighting. If he is not able to use any spells, he will never get any credits for spellwork, so no matter how many credits he gets in the other two, he will never qualify. Will claims that no matter what, he is going to try, so Walk tells him that first, he will have to graduate, but as far as he knows, he needs 4 more credits by the end of this week. This shocks Will, who immediately starts searching for monsters that can give him 4 credits when Walk tells him that there is a monster called Baskerville on the 6th floor, which hasn't been defeated yet. Will immediately hugs his teacher, but unbeknownst to them, Cyan ends up overhearing this and decides to head out to the dungeons himself to kill the monster before Will, so he gets kicked out of the academy for not having enough credits. Later that evening, Will enters the cave alongside his familiar Kiki and tells her to use her nose to find the monster. But Kiki doesn't seem too keen on it, as last time when Will fought a Baskerville, she ended up getting burnt by its breath. On the other side, Cyan and his cronies also enter the 6th floor determined to find the beast before Will, so he gets kicked out. One of his underlings with pink feminist hair asks whether it's a good idea for just 3 mages to enter the 6th floor, but Cyan looks at him angrily, claiming that he is one of the best mages in the class and can deal with it. He thinks angry racist thoughts while walking and tells his underlings to use their scan magic to find the location of the beast when suddenly a huge monster appears and punches the spiky-haired boy so hard that he becomes a pancake on the wall. Cyan is beyond shocked, unable to move, while the feminist starts screaming in terror. Will overhears the scream and immediately gets up before running with the speed of lightning towards the noise as he gets worried about someone getting hurt. He turns around a corner when he spots Cyan on the floor shooting fire blasts at the monster, who doesn't seem bothered by it at all. Will immediately recognizes the monster as the Sentinel, who is an extremely strong monster worth 10 credit scores, but wonders what it's doing on this level dungeon. He realizes that Cyan's magic is nothing for the monster, as it completely ignores the flame blasts and keeps moving towards the terrified boy on the floor. He thinks about helping him when suddenly he remembers about all the times this asshat of a person ridiculed him for no reason. This makes him want to shut his eyes and pretend he never saw it, but he remembers Elfie, who told him that he is the kindest person she knew and gifted him a pair of glasses. This reminds him of who he truly is, and he puts on the glasses while the monster raises his weapon to finish the cocky brat once and for all. He blocks the monster's attack just in time and forces it away to save Cyan's life.
違うよ、エルフィー。君の隣に、君にふさわしい僕になりたい。ただのみっともないやつなんだ。だからせめて。一振りの剣のように。
While back at the academy, Edward enters Walk room and tells him to immediately send his familiar into the dungeons as Cyan and his lackey went inside to the 6th floor without permission. Walk realizes what has happened, but tells Edward not to worry as Will is also on the same floor. Back in the dungeon, Will clashes with the monster again and again, blocking his attack and outmaneuvering him, before dealing a swift slash to his arm, which slices a finger off. The monster angrily tries to attack, but Will dodges the attack as he moves through the air like an eagle. The monster finally catches Will, but Will manages to block the blow with his sword. He gets blasted back, after which the monster throws rocks at him, which he slashes through effortlessly. He jumps around the monster and manages to land on his back before stabbing him right through the neck. The monster starts flailing while Cyan is beyond shocked to see Will's capabilities. Back at the academy, Edward is also shocked at seeing this while Walk claims that Will is an outcast as he has no magic but superhuman strength. For a mage, he is as hardy as a dwarf, and his brain is so capable that he learns all the attack patterns of any race just by having one look at them. They watch as Will manages to slash off the monster's arm and then calmly walks towards the giant sword on the ground. Will picks up the giant sword effortlessly. Walk tells Edward that in a world filled with magic and wizards, Will is the only warrior. The monster shoots an energy beam out of its mouth, but Will manages to block it with the giant sword and slashes it at the monster, who gets sliced into little pieces and falls to the ground unmoving. Will then walks over and gives Cyan his helping hand, who looks still shocked, while Edward can't believe his eyes as he screams at Walk that a person without magic can never surpass a magician and storms off the room, while Walk realizes that Edward is on a large dose of copium right now. He knows that the story of Will is going to become legend as he turns the world upside down by making Wistoria the only place in the world where a wand and a sword meet. This is the end of Wistoria and Sword Episode 1. Thank you so much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.